Ready. Let's do it. Let's try it again.
We did it. We are recording.
Again.
We're here. I feel like things are changing on Zoom on the daily, but they're actually not. We just have to figure it out every week for whatever reason, the two of us. So it's all good. We're here. We're here.
Yeah. Yeah, we're here. We have arrived and we have things we want to talk about that hopefully are helpful for other people to hear.
Yes. So we are unable to actually live stream anywhere in particular. So we will be dripping these into the socials. So I'm Dr. Erica Peabody in Fenton, Michigan, chiropractor here. And
I am Dr. Rachel Kapustka. I'm chiropractor here in Denver, Colorado. Coming to you.
Yeah. And we are basically just wanted to come inside of a educated doctors but girlfriends conversation every week and be able to chit chat with you all about a topic, although we have a million topics on our list. So we're trying to at least like wrap our head around one specific, maybe like 20-ish minutes, something like that. So thank you for joining us. So how would you like to start?
Well, we have all these topics that we've been talking about, but at the same time, I feel like we've both been really trying to have a conversation before we come on here that feels relevant to what's happening in our personal lives, but also kind of what we're seeing in our practices showing up for people. Because there's definitely, interestingly enough, themes that roll through. And it's, you know, some people feel like, I'm sure you notice this, you'll have a client come in, they feel like they're the only one going through something. And by the end of the day, it's like half the people you've seen are going through the exact same challenge. It's wild. So it's also about picking topics that feel relevant to what's moving through for a lot of people in their life. Some of the topics are classic, right? It doesn't really matter who you are or what stage of life you're in. They're just important things to be reminding ourselves of. And one of the things that we talked about this week that we wanted to just share our wisdom and personal experience around is what happens when we're choosing everybody else but ourselves first. And then in reflection to that, what happens when we do choose ourselves first? What happens around us? Yeah. So do you want to, any thoughts that you have?
Yeah, well, I mean,
realm?
Yeah, inside of life in general. So, I mean, one of the things that's been going on in the Midwest in the last 10 days is we've had horrible air quality. And they're saying it's the Canadian fires and it's this idea and it's that idea. But it's gotten a little bit like, is it really, or really what's going on and what's getting into our lungs and how is it going to affect us and all the things. And I'm like, you know what? We can't really control what is out there. Like we can't necessarily control it. So I've encouraged people through conversations that the most important thing is to choose ourselves on the daily basis. What brings us joy? Not that we can totally bypass everything else, but being sure that we're choosing like what's right for ourselves personally, in our health, in our mind, our mindset, the things we're doing with our daily, you know, whether it be chores or daily activities or fun activities, like just being sure that we're really conscientious about the here and now and what effect that has on us. And then, I mean, it just rolls out into, I'm taking this week off from work. And it was like in my mind, like this battle on a continual basis. But if I don't choose this time, to step away, I don't have family, so to speak, but like my practice is in essence a little bit of like a baby energy to me. Like I really need to step away in order to step back in a powerful way. So just a couple of things that kind of come top of mind when I think about that this week is refueling and choosing time for myself and choosing the energy for myself rather than continually going through the spiral and down this path that I haven't really looked up in a while. Like this week gives me a chance to look up and look around. So yeah, just kind of those things come to mind, top of mind initially. What about for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly what you just said. I think not only do I witness it in clients that come to see us, right? Like what we're trying to do as chiropractors is interrupt pattern. that has become familiar to the brain but isn't functional or optimal or even lending the body towards adaptability. So you guys we had that air quality stuff going on a couple of months ago. And I agree 100%. Like we can't control all the things that are out there, but we can certainly do a lot to increase our ability to adapt to circumstances by choosing our health first, ourselves first. And then, what you were referencing, like the ability to you're just going through the same patterns day in, day out and not looking up, not looking out, and taking time away allows for you to do that. I think it's so critical because it's that whole boiling frog analogy that we talk about so often in so many different professions when it comes to health. And we find ourselves in a situation where we're boiling over and we didn't even realize how we got there. Like this has never happened before. Well, it's been happening for some time,
right?
Because we've been choosing, other things and not ourselves. And so what I notice is, for me personally, it's much easier to choose other people. It's much easier to choose other scenarios and situations because there's some level of accountability, I think, that has to take place when I choose myself, that maybe I don't want to look at, or I'm scared to see it, or, if I see it, then I'm going to have to do something about it. So I think those are some common things that show up for not only me, but for other people. And I think too that when we do that, when I have chosen myself first, I come alive again. I remember who I am, and I'm much funner to be around. I'm much more enjoyable to be around. So I think it's uplifting for everybody when we choose ourselves. It might be hard for other people at first when you choose something, when a person chooses something that prioritizes their life first. But in the end, if it's beneficial for them, and like for me, then it improves the quality of the energy in and around me, including the people I share a home with, the people I take care of, the person I pass by in the grocery store. Like I am lighter and brighter and shinier when I'm choosing me. And sometimes it takes a pretty big interrupt in order, again, back to what you were saying, to look up and go, oh, where am I? Where have I been? Like, who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? It's easy to do because day in, day out, everything becomes a little monotonous, even if it's good monotony. I think it's easy to get stuck in a rut, and that's exactly what our nerve systems do too. So it's good to just like shake it up a little bit.
For sure. You had mentioned the phrase, and we talk about it so tongue in cheek because we use it all the time, but the boiled frog. And just to kind of explain that instead of just brushing by, just in case somebody hasn't heard of that concept before,
sure.
Is if you put a frog into cold water and you bring it to a boil, it will not jump out. It doesn't feel the slight subtle changes of the temperatures. And so it will just sit there and be boiled alive. Now, if you boil water first and you throw the frog in, it jumps right out because it feels that. And so that's kind of what you were talking about, is just the word we use a lot is acquiesce, where you're like, this doesn't work, but let's just figure out how to make it work for today, and then figure out how to make it work for tomorrow, and then the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. And then all of a sudden we're finding ourselves living for somebody else or for something else or in some other way that doesn't totally benefit us. But we don't even realize it's happening because it is that boiled frog concept of like, it just is such simple, subtle changes that we just are like, holy cow, how in the world did we get here? I notice it the most, like when I am choosing myself, I notice it the most when I wake up in the morning and I get going, but I have more just excitement about life and living in general. Like I'm more excited to get out of bed. I'm more excited, to get the dogs out, get some fresh air. I'm more excited to get some exercise in. I'm more excited to get to work. I'm more excited rather than realizing that I've given too much to others, or others' ideas and concepts and their agendas, where to the demise of myself. And then I find that I don't have as much excitement. I don't have as much joy, and I don't have as much get up and go in my step as I did. But if I choose like right from the start to stick in that high energy and to serve myself, not in a selfish way, but just in like a conscious way of choosing the day, then that affects everything all out into my day and every interaction that I have. One of the phrases we work with in our profession a lot is, we never really know what we think, say, or do today will affect the life, or how it'll affect the lives of millions tomorrow. And a lot of times we don't get that initial feedback, but being in practice for as long as we have, it's like people will come back around and be like, you don't have any idea, but you've changed my life, or you don't have any idea, but my entire blah, blah, blah has shifted for that little thing you said. And that was because we're more resourced initially. So.
Yeah. And I think too, something you said reminded me that when we are choosing ourselves, and that can mean a lot of different things and for a lot of different reasons, the routine of the day doesn't necessarily change. It's just more enjoyable. Just becomes like, instead of just like, oh, at 7 a.m. I do this, and then at 8 a.m. I do that, and at 9 a.m. Instead it's like, it's 7 a.m. We're doing this. It's time to do this. And now it's time to do that.
Yeah.
It does. There's more spiz in the day, like just more energy, more excitement. And I think when we do choose ourselves, it does come from a place of purpose and meaning. Like there's something, when we say yes to ourselves, it's because there's some sort of purpose or meaning behind it. And when we live our life in that way, we are definitely spreading more joy, much more higher vibrational energy around us, and more attraction, more magnetism. And even if you're just living by yourself out in the woods, mountains somewhere, the colors change. They just become brighter.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I
it's
think it
interesting.
even, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, from looking at clients, and I know that there's a variety of people that go through this. It's not just mothers, it's not just women. And there is a very, very much a very classical pattern around women and mothers, and just constantly choosing kids first. Like I'll do that later. When my kid graduates from high school, then I'll start looking at my other interests or whatever. It's really common. It's not true of everybody. And certainly there are dads and different gendered people who are living these types of concepts where they're choosing other people first. But I think it's easy, and it's also painful, and it's also such a shame, because we only have so much time on this planet. And I feel like the way that we can really, for those people who do that, who find themselves in that situation, myself included, we think that we're doing a service to those that we're, helping to provide and care for, but it's really a disservice, because we're not modeling for them how you do engage in life. We're not modeling for them, what does it look like to be passionate about something? What does it look like to take care of oneself? We take care of a lot of babies, right? And so often the parents bring in the baby and they've never been taken care of or checked themselves. It's like, no, you first. You first. The classic, put the oxygen mask on your face first.
Right.
If you have multiple kids, then you have to choose which kid to put on next, but it's you first kind of concept.
Yeah, the analogy that I really love to use through the years in practice is that the heart, right? So for the heart to beat, it has to first give back to itself. So the very first arteries that come off of the aorta as it leaves the heart are the coronary arteries, which feed back to itself. And, you have to fill your cup first. You have to blah, blah, blah. But if we just take the that simple part of the body, the tissue, one of the tissues that's the most important, it's like, it feeds itself first. And then you have a little bit more to give to others. There's also that other, we change one word for another. And instead of, I got to do this today, It's more like, I get to do this today. Like, I've got to do laundry today. No, I get to do laundry today. I've got to go for a run. No, I get to go for a run. I've got to make, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No, I get to. And that kind of idea and just a little shift in words really makes just give that a try for a day instead of like, I got to go pick up the kids from this and I got to go blah, 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 that. I get to do that. And I get to do that because I'm so blessed to have that to do, have kids to do that for and with, or, have a home to keep clean or whatever, have laundry to do, clothes on your back. Like, it's just shifts everything. And that doesn't come from a worn out, non-energetic lifestyle choices. Like, it comes from a highly resourced, eat well, move well, think well, get your water and rest, and then let us help with keeping your spine and nervous system clean and clear of debris in that communication system. So I always look to that change in the gut for I get to do. So I always love that.
No, that's a great reminder for sure, because that is also, I think, a very subtle neurological habit that many of us get into, and we don't even realize the communication that we are giving our subconscious mind around, it's a subtle, burdensome kind of messaging to the brain when you just switch how that word is spelled,
one letter can change everything.
It changes everything. It changes everything. It really does. And I don't think people are going to misunderstand this, but just to say, like, this doesn't mean abandon all responsibility and just hightail it out of your life commitments. But do assess and kind of see, like, how often are you telling everybody else to do something and you yourself aren't doing it? It doesn't mean that you're being a hypocrite. It just means that we're not choosing ourselves appropriately in relation to what we're maybe putting out there in our environment, our household, and our careers, and our community.
Yeah.
So just a gentle reminder, check in. What can you do for yourself to take care of yourself a little bit better? And we talked about those pillars of health in the last video. So reference that if you forget. Like, we always need reminders, and we remind each other all the time.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always share with the patients every day of our lives is a game of slip in and check in. Like, there's no way to make this 100% practice. There's no way, like, perfection is just a complete misnomer, and we're not able to do that 100% of the time. However, just having just a little bit of awareness, a little change in one letter, and creating more excitement to get up and get going. It truly is a gift. It's a gift to have another day. So
truly. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it's like, no more days. If you're in that boat, I've been there. I get it. I understand it. Surround yourself with people who can remind you who you are and why you're here, what you have to offer. So I think that's a good message for the day.
I think so too. It seems pretty complete. So, we're always available if you have feedback, questions, comments, concerns. We'll continue to post links to everything, to me, to her, website, social medias, all the things. So
all the things.
And just expect us weekly. We're trying to get through and find how to work with a 2-hour time change and time zone difference and whatever. But we're like, okay, what about this 10 minutes? What about this 10 minutes? What about this 10 minutes? Okay, what about 10 minutes later?
How did we do this last week?
I know. So we'll just be here regularly, and sharing regularly. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.